everybody. Welcome to the Comedy and Magic Podcast. I'm your host, John Marshall.
Yes.
If you're new to the channel, please remember to like, subscribe. Go ahead and smack that bell to be notified of future upcoming podcasts. I'm very happy to say that on this program we have had magicians and we've had comedians. But today we're going to welcome our very first ventriloquist. He's been in the business for over 67 years. Please welcome to the podcast, the one and only Dale Freeman. Welcome, Dale.
Thank you, John. It's a joy and a privilege and a pleasure.
Where are you from, my friend?
Washington State, born and raised in Central Washington. Okay. And we stayed there right on up through until college, and then left and went other places. So anyway.
So you're a ventriloquist. How long have you been doing this, my friend, professionally?
Well, I don't know whether or not I was ever doing it professionally. I've been doing it for countless years, but as far as professionally, depends on your definition. But anyway, I started when I was about 10 years old, reading a comic book, and comic books like then had bits of information and so on. It was the middle of the polio deal, and so always had all the big deal in the summertime about what you can and can't do to stay away from polio. And then they'd have a page where they'd sell stuff, and there was this little ad, and it had a picture of a guy carrying a box, and then a kid kind of smirking behind him, and it said, surprise your neighbors, drive your teachers crazy, so on and so forth, throw your voice, be a ventriloquist, and order the great ventrilo. And so I said, how can I possibly live without a great ventrilo? And so it was 10 cents, I think. So anyway, I put my dime in an envelope, which is not the easiest thing to do. And then I sent it away, and I waited every day. I'd go to the mailbox, and I'd look, and wringing my hands, and, will I be able to carry it? I was wondering about how big it's going to be. And I got this little envelope back, and it said, inside the great ventrilo. Well, that right there was a mess. So I opened it up, and it's a little piece of metal, just about like that, a little flat piece of metal. And the idea was you're supposed to lay it on the back of your tongue and kind of blow and kind of make a bird noise. I have no idea. Well, almost immediately I swallowed the great ventrilo. And then I ordered another great ventrilo, and I swallowed 4 great ventrilos, as a matter of fact. And I have
they were delicious.
Well, yeah. I wish they'd come in flavors, but the way it was, you just take it the way you get it. And then finally, about the 4th ventrilo, as I was swallowing it down, I noticed there's this little book with the great ventrilo, which was about learning ventriloquism. And so I skipped the great ventrilo, and I just went to the little book. And over a period of time, I just kind of taught myself ventriloquism, and there you go. And then during that same period of time, my grandfather, we were visiting him, and he took me to town and bought me a Misto Magic set. And so all of a sudden I brought that home. And so in school, every week or so, my classmates would sit there as a captive audience, and I'd either be pulling rabbits out of hats, or and so I entertained all my constituents during recess and so on, and went on from there. And then when I got older, for a period of time, I had a stage show, a magic stage show, full stage show, with all of the flying and everything. But when you're dealing with a deal where you have to have trucks and assistants and all that type of thing, it kind of hinders you. And so when I started traveling, I shrunk all that down and started doing mentalism. I did a show called Journey Beyond the Senses. And then I was able to put everything in a suitcase. And since I was constantly flying, well, then I didn't have to fly with an elephant or anything. I just flew with a little suitcase, and so that was the way it went. But when you're doing ventriloquism, they look in the X-ray and they say, "Who's that in there?" And so you
Yeah.
have to open up your suitcase and have the guy talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they finally just give up and let you go. So flying is always a bit of a adventure, no matter what. And Lord knows I've done hundreds of thousands of millions of miles all over the world, and 43 states, and awful lot of work in Africa, a lot of work in Ukraine, and have a lot of friends in Ukraine, and so I've been real interested in news there. And in Great Britain, I did a lot of work, Wales and so on, and South America, and then all over. You name it, I've probably been there
Wow.
once. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's amazing.
And all that time, I probably hated travel more than anyone on the face of the earth. My idea of travel was no travel at all. But
Yeah.
somehow or other, I loved getting there. I loved what I was doing when I got there. But the process, not one of my favorite things. But
Did you
anyway.
find yourself well received everywhere
Oh
you
yeah.
went, pretty much?
Yeah, yeah. I've always well received. Of course, I yeah, I've always been well received, no matter where it was.
Who were some
And
of
when
your
you
favorite ventriloquists looking back growing up? Some of your greatest mentors?
Well, when I grew up, it was Edgar Bergen and Charlie
Charlie
McCarthy,
McCarthy.
So there
Yes.
you go. So
I was
kind
waiting
of
for
the
that word.
kind of the king of the whole operation. Let me tell you something. When you become a tremendous hit doing ventriloquism on radio, you really are good. I'll tell you
That's
that right
amazing.
now.
Yes.
And he always had a lot of trouble with lip control. Um, Edgar Bergen did, and they made movies and TV and everything under the sun, but he was not perfect in the lip control department, but that's because he spent years on radio. You definitely don't have to worry about lip control when you're on the radio. And so you just picked up some bad habits along the way. But anyway.
Let me ask you this, Dale. Have you heard of Darcy Lynn?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
She is
Absolutely.
amazing. Talk about lip control. There is a girl right there who can sing with her lips shut.
Absolutely.
She sings
Absolutely.
better than a lot of people sing with their mouths open.
Absolutely. And America's Got Talent, of course, has given us like about three major ventriloquists. As a matter of fact, they were responsible in a way for a kind of a resurgence in the art. I mean, it never went
Beautiful.
away. It was always there. But as far as the general audience is concerned, well, had about a 3-hit situation there. And so it worked out pretty good.
How far do you think ventriloquism will go into the future?
I,
Do you think it's going to
I,
be a dying
yeah.
breed or?
No, 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 no. It ebbs and flows, and it always has ebbed and flowed depending on they certain characters would come up and so on and so forth. But it'll always be around because it's a fun thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I was talking about lip control. Really ventriloquism. It really doesn't matter how much you move your lips. What you do is you create a life form. You create a character, and then you breathe life into that character. And as long as people buy into that character, then you know
That's true.
you can be less than a technical ventriloquist, but boy, that character had better come to life and be real as far as your audience is concerned, or you're just dead in the water. And that's so. A lot of people forget that. There's some fantastic technical ventriloquists that they've never really gotten out off the ground because they've never come to the point where they were able to really develop characters that came to life and were real to people. And if you entertain people in that way, well, then you got made in the shade. And I mean, it's kind of like it's ventriloquism at its heart is kind of like it's like Abbott and Costello. It's like Laurel and Hardy. It's a bing to bing to bing to bing.
It's a team.
But yeah, yeah. So it's back and back and forth, vaudevillian type of entertainment. But at the same time, you just have to develop a character that comes to life and you breathe life into it. And that was easy for me because I was I didn't have any siblings. I was an only child. And so I grew up with a tremendous imagination. And I spent all my childhood creating worlds and populating them with people. And so I constantly had conversations out on the rock buttes and out in the apple orchards with a whole host of people. I was never alone out there, and it became second nature. And I guess I became schizophrenic. I have no idea. But anyway, when I do ventriloquism, I never think about it. It's not like I think, oh, now you're going to say this and you're going to say this. We just talk. I mean, at the end of the day, and a lot of times I don't even have a routine. I just sit down with one of the guys and we just have a conversation. And if a camera happens to be on, then good and fine. But I don't spend a lot of time, memorizing material. But
so you don't script your stuff. You don't write scripts and things.
I know where I want to start. I know where I want to end. But a lot of the middle, no, I don't, because we discover each other. I sound like an escapee from asylum or something like that. But when I'm with one of my guys, well, we just have a conversation. We talk back and forth, and I don't think I'm going to say this and I'm going to have him say that. That's totally, well, he's alive, and we just talk and have a good time, and that's what it boils down to. So it's a lot easier for me.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
Especially in my old age. If I had to memorize a lot of material, I'd end up like Marlon Brando, where I had to have all my lines pasted on the forehead of the person I was talking to, because I've never been very good at it. Now, well, I'm semi-brain dead, so it gets a little harder as you go along life's way.
Wow. So you've traveled pretty much everywhere. We talked a little bit earlier, and you said something about being a pastor. How did that come apart in your life?
Well, I became a Christian when I was 10 in a little Southern Baptist mission out there in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And then when I was 17, well, I felt the Lord was going to have me go and preach the gospel, but I didn't realize I was really going to go. I thought, well, that's nice. I'll find me a place to preach, but he had me going anywhere. Pastored churches in several states, and then was involved in a ministry that took me into all types of environments to do crusades or to do university, high school campuses, kids camps, all kinds of work, just everything under the sun, anything that you can imagine. Well, I ended up doing somewhere. So that's how it went.
So do you find that your characters are pretty much an extension of your personality as well, or vice versa?
Well, some are and some aren't. I mean, they're all have their own personality, and so some of them are a little bit more like me. I have one or two that constantly give me trouble. We bicker and fight about it all the time, but they're coming around. It works out pretty good. The longer we get to know each other, well, the better more we're the same, I suppose. But
maybe another 25 years you'll know each other.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 25 years, I'm going to know everything. And so it'll work out really good. But in the here and now, well,
who are some of your favorite characters that you enjoy that you created?
Well, I have Harley. He's a biker that I'm trying to get on his gang. And so I'm constantly showing up in my helmet and my aviator glasses and everything, trying to give him the business, and he hasn't bought into it yet. He's kind of skeptical about me. I told him, when I was in high school, I had a motorcycle. I had a Honda 50, and he said, no rice burners. They're not interested in rice burners. You have to have a hog. And I said, well, I have a lot of experience with hogs. My grandpa used to raise hogs, and he'd have me go slop the hogs. And so I'd slop the hogs, and so he just he just looked at me like I was an idiot and treated me like one. And so I said, well, I'll get regalia. So I got all galed up. I had my brain bucket on and I had my glasses on and all this stuff, and I was scarf around my neck, and said, and he was totally impressed. I'm still working on him. In a week or so, well, I'm going to go back and we're going to have another conversation. And who knows? Actually, I do have a biker name. I told him, well, I'd like to be like Wheelie or something like that, or Asphalt Burner or something like that. And I said, I finally decided I'm going to be called TikTok. And he said, well, as near as I can tell, and I have no scientific information at all, but as near as I can tell, I'm probably the oldest person on TikTok. I certainly don't run into anybody that's anywhere near my age. They always say, well, are you're back in the 60s, you guys must have 60s. My Lord have mercy. I was halfway through my life in the 60s. And so I don't bump into many people that were born in 1940s. I really don't. But anyway, so I said, I'm going to be TikTok because I'm the oldest man TikTok. I'm the oldest man on TikTok. And he said, okay. So he bought into that. So if you ever see the gang, well, there's Animal and there's Bruiser and there's Wheelie and there's TikTok. That's who I am.
Well, as long as you're not joining a Jewish biker gang called the Moglin Davison, you're all right.
Yeah, I'll watch out for that. I'll definitely stay away from that because I'd have a lot of trouble passing me off on that one. Sounds good, though.
So, where is some of the funnest places you've ever performed that you were you didn't want to leave?
Well, for a lot of reasons, the first time I went to Africa, I didn't want to leave because I fell in love with people and I saw things happen that I couldn't explain. And it was a wondrous, unbelievable, miraculous time in Kenya. And so I called my wife from Kenya, which, by the way, back in those days, if you can imagine conversation, oh no, it's a lot worse than that. I had to get an international operator, and then the international operator got the this operator, and got that operator and that operator, and then they call you back 20 minutes later and say they had a connection to Milwaukee. And so anyway, it took about 30 minutes to make the connection, but at about $4 a minute. And when I called her up, I said, if there's any way in the world, honey, if I could get you to sell whatever we have and to load up the kids to come over here, I'd never come home again. And I meant it. I would have stayed in Kenya in a heartbeat, but actually it just wasn't meant to be. But so Kenya was great, fun, exciting, inspirational, everything under the thumb. Not always fun, but always exciting. Yeah. So Kenya, did a lot of work in Wales. We went and did a giant jubilee up there. The Prince of Wales asked me to bring some people over and do his. They were doing a big jubilee, which is kind of a big fancy fair. We went over there and we did that, and I took some of my friends. And actually, I had a clown ministry at that time, and so I had about 10 clowns, and so I loaded them up and took them with me. And so they were all women. So I traveled around the world of Wales, 10 clowns and me, and we did schools and we did assemblies and we did everything under the sun, and we did the conference and we did the festival and we did and that was a lot of fun. It really was. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had a really, really wonderful life of performing, and it seems like something you really enjoy doing. What you said about being the oldest person on TikTok, you're probably right about that, although you never know.
No. maybe someone will call me and say, "Hi, I'm older than you, and I'm on TikTok." And I'll say, "Okay, well then you win." But
Have you
as
seen
far as
my
I
new
can tell,
dance video?
yeah, that's right. Do, 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 do. If you
Oh,
stick
my
with me,
leg. Oh,
yeah, well, yeah, well, if you're going to stick with me long enough. One thing about all my videos, it's very, very, very obvious, and that is they're all filmed in my chair. So, in my performing today, I never leave this chair, and so it works out really great for me. Anyway, I have no idea what impact it has on anyone else, but anyway,
well, as
I
long as you're
yeah,
having fun and you're enjoying what you're doing, I think that's what's important is the frame of mind of just being necessary and relevant. And I think you're doing
well,
a great job of that.
that's the thing. Well, when I retired, well, I never did retire. In my business, you don't retire, but when I became inactive, and then it was very traumatic, to be very honest with you. The first year or
Are you
two.
talking the pastor part of it?
You're right, right. I
Yeah, you're
retired
right.
when I was,
You're right. You
and
never retire. You just move on.
absolutely, on and on and on. But uh, but my active ministry, my pastoral ministry, my preaching ministry, uh, got put on the back burner there, and so it's very traumatic. But I came to the point where I realized, well, there are some things that I haven't been able to do exclusively through my life. That's why I have trouble talking about my years, is because they're all intertwined. In other words, I don't. It's not linear. I didn't start ventriloquism when I was 10, then I just did ventriloquism for 60 or 70 years. But it was a part of this, and this was a part of that, and so it's very hard to dissect for anyone, and to really have them understand that my life was a conglomerate of a lot of things. But whenever I got to this point in my life, I realized, I think whatever days I have left, I'm just going to kind of do something that I've always done, but I haven't always done exclusively. And now I'm basically doing ventriloquism exclusively. And I'll do a little bit of magic, but that I've got to the point in my life where that makes me nervous, and so ventriloquism is great.
Yes, as a magician, I get the handshakes and people are always watching your hands, and you're right about that.
Well, it's yeah, and especially now, I have arthritis in my hands, so I couldn't manipulate anything if I had to. But
Right.
I could still do an illusion show like I used to, where I'd have a pretty girl come out and get in the box. I go dun 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 dun. I can do that, but as far
Yeah.
as actually doing something,
Manipulating coins and things
yeah,
and
your average illusionist does not really do magic. He supervises and oversees magic, and you know, I have
yeah.
Andre Cole was a mentor in magic. So I spent time with him and so on. He'd take me in and show me a little stuff, and we'd work together. But so I have a mentors, you know.
Well, Andre Cole is no slouch, man. That guy,
Oh
he's got a great
no,
show. Great
had a
show.
big show. I mean, he's selling off all this equipment now, but he at one time, he was the. If you were going on, if you want to do campus work, we looked to Andre Cole because he was the king. He was the it didn't come any better than Andre as far as campus work is concerned. Of course, he worked for eons and ages for Campus Crusade for Christ, and
Yeah.
well, that's what he did. And big stage magic with a message. And that's what it was. And so I was little stage magic with a message, and he was big stage magic with a message, and it all worked out.
Where can viewers actually get a chance to see some of your work and some of your favorite places that you could focus them to?
Well, of course, TikTok. Everything really starts now with TikTok, and then from TikTok it goes to Facebook, and from Facebook to whatever. But so Facebook, TikTok, uh, You know, they can friend me on Facebook, and every time something shows up, well, it's there. And we're also now working to develop a YouTube page where everything ultimately will go, and so on and so forth. So, you know,
Excellent.
I haven't been doing it all that long, and so I'm just really a beginner as far as all what I'm doing now. I'm just
so you're just having fun, and that's so what everybody on TikTok is doing is just having fun. So why can't you?
Well, you know, I've always done things. I've always had an audience, and you know, if the Muhammad and the Mountain deal, if they don't come to me, well, I go to them. I chase them down. Used to, well, they'd come to wherever I was, whether it was a stadium or a any situation. Well, they'd come to me, and and now, well, I say, well, now you're going to have to come to me, and so I wait for them to come, and they come. I'm really quite amazed at the response so far. So we're having a good time.
So do you get a lot of viewers, a lot of subscribers?
Well, yeah, we hear from an awful lot of people. I mean, TikTok just got started, but hear from an awful lot of people from around the world. You know, that's never ceases to amaze me how I can do a little bit of shtick, and all of a sudden I hear from you know, Yugoslavia or Brazil or someplace. But that's kind of the way it is. So I like that.
Dale Freeman, thank you for having me on your show.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Thanks for being on my show. It is early.
Thank you for having me, John. I enjoyed it more than you'll ever know.
It is a pleasure having you, and I will leave the links down below to your TikTok and your Facebook. I do recommend you check him out. Dale Freeman, ladies and gentlemen.
Later.
Well, folks, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm John Marshall. Till the very next time that we meet, God bless you.